Sudden death football arrives for the Newcastle Jets, and they know here in Sydney only victory will do at a venue they haven't won at since 2012 against the Sky Blues. While for Sydney, it's a similar equation. Victory puts them back in the six, while defeat puts one of the competition heavyweights on the precipice of missing the finals. Good afternoon and welcome to Allianz Stadium. We're here on Gadigal country as Sydney FC takes on the Newcastle Jets. And for the best part of the season, the Sky Blues have teased us, refusing to answer who is the real Sydney FC. The team who eliminated Korean heavyweights John Book from the ACL2, or the side sunk by the Sailors from Singapore. It's a season which has never found its safe harbour, constantly rocking and rolling. But now, on the domestic front, it really gets treacherous. With finals slipping away, can the Sky Blues finally get some wind in their sails? And they have got some extra motivation this afternoon for a man who has achieved it all here at Sydney FC. In Andrew Redmayne, 3 A-League championships, 3 premierships, a couple of Australia Cup titles. And of course, famously remembered in Australian sporting circles for that Socceroos performance in the World Cup playoff in 2022. It's time now to celebrate Andrew Redmayne's time at Sydney FC.
Celebrate the career of Sydney FC's longest-serving, most successful and greatest goalkeeper. Andrew Redmayne has amassed 237 appearances in all competitions, which is the 3rd most in club history. Reynolds will be remembered as much for his humble nature as for his unmatched achievements between the sticks, including 3 A-League championships, 3 premierships, 2 Australia Cup titles, and a record 64 clean sheets. He also earned 4 caps for the Socceroos during his time with Sydney FC, including the iconic penalty save that sealed Australia's place at the 2022 FIFA World Cup in Qatar. Ladies and gentlemen, Andrew Redmayne.
Andrew Redmayne with wife Caitlin, children Poppy and Banjo. What a special moment it is for one of the Sky Blues favourites. And you think about some of his great moments in the Sydney FC jersey, that 2019 grand final, the penalty shootout heroics in Perth, which secured the championship. Let's get to the team news. 2 changes for the Sky Blues from their Champions League clash on Thursday night. Klimala out with a knee issue, Senna a calf. They are replaced by Wahim and Kucharski, the latter making just his 2nd start of the campaign. Zach de Jesus has been left out of the matchday squad entirely. Youngster Will Kennedy in line for just his 2nd A-League men's appearance of the season. Well, Adrian Segacic produced one of the great braces in A-League history last week against Auckland, but the frustrating part of it for Sydney was they didn't claim all 3 points. They'll be hoping for some more gunpowder out of those boots to get Sydney over the line against a Newcastle team which is unchanged after that equal biggest win in club history, 6-0 over the Mariners last week. Eli Adams scored a double in the demolition. He has 6 in his last 7. And despite playing just 9 matches, Japanese import Kota Mizunuma has already notched up 4 assists. Noah James back from missing due to concussion. He's on the bench. Well, Clayton Taylor, the man who came through the Sydney FC Academy, he loves coming up against his old side. Scored against them earlier in the season. He has 2 goals in 3 against Sydney. Pressure is building on Ufi Talay, especially after they were knocked out in the Asian Champions League 2 on Thursday night against Lion City. So it is all on the A-Leagues now. And for Rob Stanton, the former Sydney FC assistant coach, faces his old side for the final time with Newcastle. not re-signed beyond this season. Sean Evans in charge of this fixture for the first time in almost 6 years. Sydney beat the Jets 4-1 at Leichhardt over the last time he was in charge of this match. The VAR is Kate Jackowitz. So what a crucial match this is. Adelaide's victory over Wellington on Friday night has set this one up superbly. And knowing that Adelaide play Brisbane, second bottom on the ladder on Tuesday, means this has extra importance for Sydney FC. They lose this and finals could be almost gone by the middle of the week. So much riding on this one at Allianz Stadium. So another piece of the finals puzzle is about to become a little bit clearer as Sydney host Newcastle for the 57th time here in the A-League Men's. It's a very good afternoon to Grace Gill. And Grace, we'll just see how this plays out for Jaden Kucharski. Starting for just the second time this season for Sydney FC, in for Klimala. And just wondering, who do you feel is going to be still standing at the end of these 90 minutes?
Oh, it's a fantastic question. Thanks, Benny. Good afternoon. And we're well and truly into the pointy end of the season. And for the neutral, this is a really exciting fixture. For Sydney and Newcastle fans, a pretty nervous encounter this afternoon. I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, we love this time of the year. It starts to cool down in autumn. And the pressure on the pitch mounts. The intensity of the football goes to another level with those top 6 places on the line. And we are no clearer to knowing, you could say the top 5 are all but safe. But that 6th spot is dangling there. Adelaide, Sydney, Macarthur, Newcastle still alive. Maybe just, but they are still alive at the moment. Costa harassed by 3 Jets. And now it's Mizanuma. Eli Adams, the man with the Midas touch, finds Rose. And tests out Devonish Mears. Newcastle, they're going to come out swinging here.
Bright start from the Jets there, and good set of hands from Devonish Mears. We know the Jets in recent weeks have been in some pretty good goal-scoring form. And Devonish Mears, down to his right, needed to hold on to that as well. Plenty of bodies rushing in. But promising signs for Newcastle.
Devonish Mears, the man who took Andrew Redmayne's spot in the side back in December. And he hasn't relinquished it. In your sense, if Sydney go to the finals, you would anticipate that Andrew Redmayne may not play again in Sydney Sky Blue. I should probably say the fluoro orange, Grace, because it's not often he gets to wear the sky blue or the different goalkeeping kits he's donned down the years. Shush now, up and over the top towards Lockie Rose. It's been this back line which has been an issue for Sydney this season. 7th best defence this campaign. 38 goals conceded. There he is, Andrew Redmayne. Massive incentive for these boys to send him out in what could be his final home match here at Sydney FC. They make the finals, could be another one. There's the Redmayne kit in the cove, standing out like a beacon.
Well, young goalkeeper in the making. This has been a bright start from Newcastle. The pressure pushing Sydney's defence back into their own defensive third, and you can understand why Devonish Mears rather is just eager to relieve the pressure.
Aquilina. Timmins searching for Rose. Pressure here on Courtney Perkins, put on by Mizunuma, but Sean Evans says there was a foul in all that. And free kick goes the way of Sydney.
Well, even the intent of Mizunuma, Rose, and those two, we've spoken about it in weeks gone by, that partnership developing really well. But you can see the message from Rob Stanton has been put Sydney on the back foot, high press, put them under pressure early.
And as we've mentioned, obviously pre-game, that Rob Stanton will not be at the Jets after this season, but the fact that their form hasn't slumped since that announcement probably goes to the fact that he did tell the players 2 to 3 months ago that he wouldn't be at the club. And Timmins has slipped this through. Rose is onside. Devonish Mears with a key moment, but Sean Evans is coming back here for the challenge on Timmins as he slipped that ball in behind for Lockie Rose.
Well, it was good refereeing as Sean Evans looked to play advantage. This just a little late in the middle of the park. Lockie Rose edging off the shoulder to try and find the run through, but Devonish Mears off his line well, alert to the danger coming through.
And you can see the way the ball just rushed across the surface. There's a bit of bounce in this surface, bit of bounce in the track, and has had a lot of traffic, so maybe the grass cut not quite as high. So it ran easily to Devonish Mears. Newcastle here with the free kick, and it's Eli Adams to Mizunuma. Looks like a training ground manoeuvre, but Aquilina's header is well dealt with. Yeah, so those passes through are just going to need probably a little bit more weighting.
Well, the delivery, the texture on the pass, that weight, if it is a quick surface, has to be measured to perfection. Definitely a training ground move, that. And I like the idea of it as well. Eli Adams just a little far out to try his luck from that sort of distance, but spectacular form the young man has been in this season.
Wally getting up and winning the header. Ryan Scott comes out to claim under some pressure there from Kacharski. Great opportunity for the 22-year-old, just his second start of the season. Couple of goals this year, one against Brisbane and the other against Victory. And filling the shoes of Klamala, who, if you missed it, is out with a knee issue. Senna's calf also keeping him out of the matchday squad. Costa held up the ball nicely. Just ran away from Kacharski. Got it back under control. And there was a really big opportunity for Jaden Kacharski back in the starting side. Newcastle now through Mombwa and Mizunuma. Searching for Rose. The ball bouncing down towards Devonish Mears.
Well, two key moments from that passage. The first was the strength of Costa retaining possession for the Sky Blues. Kacharski, on his first or second touch, looked to lose the ball, managed to regain the opportunity, and frustrations.
Kacharski maybe in here, another opportunity brewing. Just bounced up awkwardly. That's what I was just mentioning before. There is a lot of bounce in this surface. And just made it awkward for Kacharski. Wilmering sliding it in behind. Rose in front of Popovic, looking for a teammate, and Popovic did well. Pass glided back to Segicic, and you would say an intelligent foul from Mombwa, because Sydney were away there and deservedly goes into the book for a yellow card, so he has to be careful now for more than 80 minutes of this one.
Yeah, a slick move from Sydney. And great shift of weight in the middle of the park, shown by Adrian Segicic. Just went one way, dropped the shoulder to take the other, and Mombwa was really left with no choice, but it is an early yellow card to nurse for a big part of this game.
Yeah, but Costa with the outside of the boot. Very nearly spun into the path of his captain.
Oh, it's just so good to watch, isn't he, Costa? Those technical aspects of his game. You can see exactly what he was trying to do there.
We gave Adrian Segicic some high praise as well. He was asked who are the three gun players who are the players that have a bright future at Sydney, and he said Adrian Segicic, Tiago Quintal, and also Camijo. So he gave them a massive rap. He'd been most impressed, and like many internationals that come to the A-League, they get a welcome surprise about this great competition. Mizunuma, he's showing his skills as he tried to angle that ball into the path of Rose.
It's high praise from the player, the calibre of Douglas Costa. And when you're a young player surrounded by that kind of quality, the lift it gives you, players like Segicic, Kucharski can learn a lot.
Taylor versus Popovic. Just didn't seem strong enough there, Clayton Taylor, in the duel with Popovic, and that's what Sean Evans thought. Mombwa. Jets swarming that midfield area, and Shushnia emerges with the ball. Shushnia showing some skills. Chips it to the back post. Mizunuma didn't get the purchase on the volley. And, oh, that was awkward. That was really awkward for Wahim. Now, I hope he's all right. He landed very heavily, and he came down on maybe the neck/shoulder.
Oh, a really sore one. Only really managed to break the fall just with the left arm, but it was a heavy coming to the ground. And a clunky one as well.
Yeah, so as Wahim gets some attention, let's head down for the first time this afternoon to Neve Owens. Good afternoon, Neve.
Hello, Benny. Gorgeous conditions here on the sideline at Allianz Stadium this afternoon. Rob Stanton using this opportunity, a little break in play. Hopefully Wahim is okay to have a chat with Shushnia, who he has been very vocal with from the get-go here this afternoon. He has been urging him wider to Shushnia all afternoon. And also we see that high press. He really wants him pushing high and keeping that pressure on as well on what is a very warm afternoon here in Sydney. I loved your autumnal reference earlier, Benny. It is 29 degrees down here, my friend, all right up there in the air-conditioned commentary box. That might be your autumnal conditions. 45% humidity, and it is perfect, I guess, with ultimately the ground bathed in shadow at this stage as well.
Yeah, thank you, Neve. Well, Grace likes the air conditioning off, so it's actually cooking up here as well.
Okay, great.
We might have to open, we actually can open the windows, so we might do that. But yes, it is. It has it walking to the ground. It was absolutely cooking. So the players will be very appreciative of the shade. And as you know, in autumn, once the shade comes over, it does really take the sting out of that sun. So it really sets us up for a cracking afternoon of football. So Wahim looks as though he will be good to continue. Shushnia. And Wilmering. Little nutmeg on Segicic. Mombwa. Neat turn from Timmins. And then a heavy touch allows Sydney FC to now create something of their own. These are two sides who love to play attacking football, so I just feel like with the result a must. You have to get a win here, both of these sides. A draw for Sydney, okay, maybe, but it's still going to be problematic for them if Adelaide beat Brisbane on Tuesday. Newcastle, a draw only keeps them mathematically alive, which in my opinion isn't really alive.
I think as well the result Friday night mounted the pressure for Sydney this afternoon. Adelaide getting their win, and on either side of them, MacArthur playing this afternoon as well, just nipping at the heels of Sydney FC, so there's absolutely no breathing room for the Sky Blues to take the foot off the pedal.
Remembering this is a team which many pundits said pre-season would win the premiership, Sydney FC, and they are just clinging to potentially a spot in the 6. They're outside at the moment. A win gets them back inside with equal matches played. So it is still in their hands. But if they draw or lose, destiny is no longer in the Sky Blues' hands this season. Western United and Melbourne City to come away from home in the next fortnight. Wahim overcoming that awkward tumble a moment ago to put the pressure on Brozos. A bit of weight on the pass from Shushni, but Wilmering has the pace. Clayton Taylor will learn a throw. Wilmering scoring his first goal in Jets colours last week against the Central Coast Mariners. That equal biggest win in club history, going alongside the 8-2 win back in April 2018. Timmins. And this should just be a goal kick, or is it going to be a corner here? Sydney are questioning it. Jordan Courtney-Perkins cannot believe it. I thought for sure it was going to be a goal kick.
Nonetheless, a moment for Newcastle to capitalise on. It's gifted a set piece.
And Mizunuma, his quality when it comes to set pieces, one of the best in this competition since his arrival partway through the season. And it's driven in and comfortable in the end for Devonish Mears. Now, hang on a second. Is the referee saying the corner never came in? Went over the byline, is that?
Yeah, must have gone over the line.
Yeah.
So goal kick taken from the ground. Interesting to see the shape as well that Sydney FC are settling into for large parts of this opening stanza. Joe Lolly has been in that left full-back position defensively, not really given the freedom, the rein to go forward, just because of the numbers that Newcastle are committing ahead. You can see as he recovers back into that left full-back role, Sydney FC largely playing a 5-3-2, looking to get those fullbacks forward in attack, but we haven't seen much of either Ryan Grant or Joe Lolly.
Yeah, it's a great point, and Mizunuma, very challenging player to handle. So he's going to have to do a lot of work this afternoon, Joe Lolly. And Eli Adams, was there a little nudge? It's play on for the moment. Eli Adams squares it. Taylor's shot is blocked. Timmins will track it down. And Timmins is feeding Rose, and Newcastle have the lead. Sydney are screaming at the referee, but it will count for the moment. Lockie Rose with goal number 8 for the season, and the Jets in front on the road.
Well, Lockie Rose has been an absolute lifeline at the Newcastle Jets. What an impact he has made since joining the club. And on the Harvey Norman replay, shouts for a free kick, shouts for something to go the way of the Sky Blues. Nothing given, says the referee. So play goes on, and just sneaking in front as he so often does, the timing of the run, Rose loses his defender, gets the first touch and steers it around the corner.
VAR are checking it, I'm told, but Grace, the defending in the box from Sydney on a couple of occasions in that 30-second period left a lot to be desired. King was slow to get across. It was a scuff strike from Rose. If they do get away with this, they will breathe a massive sigh of relief, because they should have probably dealt with it a lot better.
For sure, and irrespective of that shout on the free kick, you've got to keep playing. Eli Adams, I thought, for half a moment, was going to take the shot himself. He didn't do so. Looked to dish it off.
So it's this moment, it's Adams on Courtney Perkins. Now, Is that just a coming together, Grace? Is there a clear and obvious error?
Well, it's a run off the back of Eli Adams. Must have just clipped the heel of Courtney Perkins as he's gone to ground.
Well, it counts. It counts for Newcastle. So Lockie Rose, who scored 9 goals in his first 3 seasons in the A-League, has now got 8 in basically half a season, considering he had that hip issue, which kept him out for most of the year. I just wonder, maybe Rob Stanton wonders as well, what would have happened if he had been fit for most of the season for Newcastle? There's a free kick for the Jets. So Sydney, this is a huge mountain to climb. They're down a goal, and remember, a draw is going to put them in a very precarious position. So they've got to score at least 2 here. And they're frustrated. You can see Courtney Perkins still very unimpressed with that decision.
And the difficult ones as well, because a little clip of the heels, obviously unintentional, was deemed nothing clear and obvious. But enough, evidently, to bring Courtney Perkins to ground.
Now it's Timmins with a high boot. Ryan Grant goes down. There's a bit of feeling in the stadium as well now after that opening goal from the Jets. This is going to get a little bit spicy, I think. And we know Sydney have got plenty of goals in them. They've scored 49 in 23 matches this season, so more than 2 per game on average in the A-League. 4th best in the competition. And look at the live ladder as it stands. So Newcastle win this, and all of a sudden, destiny no longer in Sydney's hands. You can see with a win Sydney, they'd go to 37, and they would still have control of whether they make finals or not. But lose here, and it rests with the Reds, and potentially MacArthur as well, who play later on this afternoon on the Central Coast. Aquilina launches it up towards Rose. Caceres, he gets the whistle. Well, they just seem on tilt at the moment, Sydney. They've turned it over again. Eli Adams finding Clayton Taylor, cuts it across. Mizunuma, 2-0. Can you believe this? Newcastle have not beaten Sydney here since 2012. They lead 2-0 after 22 minutes. The Jets are in absolute dreamland.
Well, delightful team play from the Newcastle Jets. On the Harvey Norman replay, this pass from Eli Adams cuts like butter through the Sydney FC defence. Clayton Taylor, on his first touch, took himself away from the goal a little, but managed to hook the cross back to the far post. And that's someone you don't want to see there. Kota Mizunuma makes absolutely no mistake, rockets that into the back of the net. Newcastle Jets are enjoying this one.
Well, there's a fist pump for the coach, for the bench from Kota Mizunuma. A couple for the season. Scored 1 against Brisbane, now he's got 1 on the road against Sydney. Clayton Taylor with a key involvement, another assist for him. Half dozen for the season for Clayton, and wow. Just as it was back in January, Newcastle lead Sydney 2-0, but remember what happened that afternoon. Sydney pulled it back, but remember, a draw is not really enough for Sydney. 3 points is a requirement here. Think about who they've got next. Western United and Melbourne City, 2 sides entrenched in the top 4 of this competition, not just the top 6. Right up near the pointy end. Rob Stanton, he's buzzing around on the sideline. I just wonder how many clubs are going to be knocking on his, or dialing his number over the coming weeks after what he's done at Newcastle this season, because no one really expected them to be in this position. Still in a sniff for the finals with one of the lowest budgets in the competition, if not the lowest. Dumbwa, and now Clayton Taylor on the outside of Ryan Grant. The Jets with all the running here. Taylor marauding and just dazzling. And then he has it pinched off him by Waheem. Is that a moment of inspiration for Sydney?
A fantastic defensive effort by Anis Waheem, and needed to be as well. Yet again, Newcastle was streaming forward all too comfortably. A little high boot on that occasion from Timmins.
He's feeling the heat, isn't he? Kofi Talay to the edge of his technical area, barking orders.
That second goal came from possession being coughed up in the midfield, and then just all too easy for Newcastle, passing through the lines comfortably, cool as you like. Eli Adams again, instrumental in the build-up. Clayton Taylor, the wonderful season he's having as well. Kota Mizunuma does not miss from there.
Grant, Segicic, here's that left boot, and you just thought it was going to pierce the Newcastle goal, as it did twice against Auckland last week.
Oh, this is better from Sydney. A really good response. On blink and you miss it from Adrian Segicic. The speed in which he is able to get the shot away. Hardly any backlift. A near post. Had Ryan Scott all but standing and watching.
Segicic, 12 goals this season, so second in the Golden Boot race behind Archie Goodwin, who scored the winner on Friday. And it's quite remarkable, isn't it? This is only his 12th start in 22 matches this season. Now it's Timmins. Look at all the running again through midfield. The space, ginormous for the Jets through the heart of Sydney FC. And here's another corner for Newcastle. Well, we know they need goals, Sydney, but if they don't plug themselves up defensively, we know what Newcastle can do. They scored 6 last week against the Mariners. Devonish Mears is going to have a rough afternoon if they can't tighten themselves up. Have a look at this. Have a look at this little Newcastle corner routine. What's that, ring-a-ring-a-rosy or something? Don't know if they'll bring that one out again. I don't think I've seen that one since preschool, Grace.
Well, they've got the momentum at the moment, Newcastle. That play perhaps won't be one that's repeated, but nonetheless looking to try something new from a set piece from a corner.
Segicic with that left boot searching for Lolly. And you made that point earlier in the game, Grace, that he has been blunted, Joe Lolly, by Mizunuma. And, well, it was Mizunuma that scored second for Newcastle, and Lolly nowhere in the vicinity. So that's the kind of work he has to do. He knows if he pushes forward, he's going to allow those opportunities for the Jets' Japanese import.
And especially given how wide Mizunuma loves to hug the touchline. Gives himself the whole field to look into.
Waheem, this time Lolly, finding some space down the left. And Costa finds him. Returns it to Costa. And this will be a corner for Sydney. Can they find something here from a set piece? Corner. Kaczarski was flying. That looked to go off Kaczarski and did. And you can hear the roar of the Jets fans. Jets wasting absolutely no time. Shush now. And that's going to favour Newcastle. Eli Adams trying to drive it through for Rose, who was offside.
The idea was right there from Newcastle, looking to play quickly. You saw on that goal kick as well, before Sydney even knew they'd played the ball, Newcastle were already streaming forward, and if they can break that first line of press, which with a bit of good fortune they did on that last occasion, how quickly that opportunity can open up.
Now it's the captain with a mistake under pressure. It has been a breathless start to this match, so much so I haven't even been able to mention that match that I referenced. The last time Newcastle beat Sydney here at Allianz Stadium, 2012. And you may remember that goal in the opener, the Del Piero goal, the iconic piece of commentary from Simon Hill. That's what they came to see. That match was the last time Newcastle beat Sydney here at Allianz, 3-2, when Heskey's Jets, Emile Heskey's Jets, beat Del Piero's Sydney in front of 35,000 fans. October 2012 that was.
Almost 13 years ago that. A long time between drinks for Newcastle. But this opening half an hour has been a real statement of intent.
And I'm pretty sure it was a Craig Goodwin free kick. That was the winner for the Jets. A young Craig Goodwin back in those days. Shush now. Timmins. Kickoff coming from his blind side. And Timmins hunting for Adams. And again, Courtney Perkins forced into a mistake. Problems here. King just threw a boot at it, and fortunately for him, it ballooned straight to his goalkeeper.
Well, he needed to as well. Clayton Taylor was searching for the pass, the run of Lockie Rose, who was open in the middle of the field. If not for that outstretched boot of King, another opportunity.
Don't forget Coppa Italia action. Thursday, 5 a.m. Inter against AC Milan. And it's a heavyweight contest on Paramount Plus. It's the business end of the year across the world. Somehow evades three Sydney players who are converging. He wanted the free kick, and he will get it now. And Sydney are going, well, hang on a second. There was no whistle initially. Sean Evans saying that he was trying to play advantage.
There's been a few occasions where Callum Timmins has done well to skip through a pretty crowded Sydney midfield. As mentioned, it's when they are able to break that first line of pressure. Segicic, Costa, Kickoff, here it comes. If they can find the pass around this first line of Sydney press, it's on for the Jets.
Aquilina up to Rose. Turned over that time by Popovic. Eli Adams running into a pocket of space. Look at the Jets getting forward. There's 5 forward. Mizunuma in the middle. Now it's Wilmering on the left. He drives it. And it was a good take. It was a very sharp strike on goal from Wilmering. Devin Ishmael is trying to release Kickoff, but by comparison, there's just 3 sky blue shirts pushing forward because everyone was back inside their own half.
Yeah, it's particularly impressive just how quickly Newcastle are committing numbers forward, especially given that Sydney FC do have, for large parts, that 5 at the back. And I don't mind the idea as well from Devonish Mears to play quickly, releasing the run of Kicharski. You know, he's a plucky young player, hasn't really had the minutes this year. As you mentioned, Benny, just his second start of the season. He's felt a little hard done by in some moments as well, Kicharski.
I think it's that question that's hovering over Sydney. We'll see how this plays out for Jaden Kicharski. Clipping it towards the back post, just over the head of Lolly. And he's unable to keep it from crossing the sideline. But it's this question of them maybe being stuck between playing the kids or playing the experienced players, the internationals that they've brought in. As has been Sydney, of course, one of the glamour clubs of this competition. Just trying to work out where they want to put their focus moving forward. This man certainly puts bums on seats in Costa. Wahim off Wilmering, back to Costa. Oh, what a strike! That is quality from Costa. And in their hour of need, who else but the Brazilian to stand up and pull them back into this contest?
Well, it's the permanence of class that you see from players in the likes of Douglas Costa. And this is a wicked strike on the Harvey Norman replay. Through traffic, through bodies, on that left foot, skips to the near post. Exactly the response that the Sky Blues needed. And from their marquee player, no less. Lovely finish.
Well, you just felt it coming, didn't you? The Jets hung off him. And you cannot hang off a man who's played 31 times for the Brazilian national team. Douglas Costa with another goal this season. That's 4 in the A-League. But he won't be worrying about that. It's about this match this afternoon. In Sydney, they need another couple to get themselves back in front and back inside the top 6 at the end of this round of football.
Well, he's a player too who's had to be managed, minutes loaded, a bit of a hamstring injury midway through the season. But we see the glimpses, we see the moments, and chances like that are just taken so sweetly. You cannot afford to give a player the likes of Costa that amount of time and space on the ball.
Well, here we go. The Cove finding their voice once more. This match is being set up beautifully. They have liked to do things the hard way, Sydney FC, this season at times. And that their 50th goal in the A-League this season, scored by Costa. Shushnow. And Adams. Just turning on a dime, Eli Adams. Wilmering and Taylor. That was well in by Alex Popovich. Getting there in front of Clayton Taylor. Could not afford allowing him to skip through.
I don't think it's entirely unfair to say that the finish from Costa, although excellent, was just a moment of individual brilliance. There wasn't any extraordinary build-up behind it. Great link-up play from the team. You would have to say, though, at least one of the Newcastle goals did have great team play leading up to it.
Costa, how about that for a ball? Just stand and applaud. Lolly towards Segicic. Very, very crucial moment there for Daniel Wilmering to come across and read that situation.
And that better too from Sydney. The switch from Costa finding a bit of width in Lolly. He hasn't had much joy getting forward in this opening half. Just as it stretches the Newcastle defence, they're going to need more of that going into the second half.
What about that ball though from Costa? Just clip that out and watch that back all day. That is phenomenal stuff. Here's Segacic, and now Wahim fell for the second time in the last couple of minutes. Segacic sends it Lolly's way. Got himself out of a tricky situation. Problems for the Jets. And Wahim could well have locked us up at 2 apiece. They are coming here, the Sky Blues. They have found the second wind, if you would call it that, after their exploits on Thursday night.
Yeah, it's starting to build now for Sydney. Ryan Scott could only stand and watch that one as well. Much to his relief, it was wide.
You can understand Sydney. Just the 2 changes from Thursday night. Klamala and Senna. Out of this side, Wahim and Kacharski coming in. So you've got 9 men out there who played a large chunk of that match against the Lion City Sailors. There are going to be some heavy legs, but they're warming into the task now. Costa. Grant. And Wahim. Segacic trying to shimmy onto the left. Finds Costa. Oh, you just thought it was coming again. And that time there was more intricate build-up from Sydney.
Yeah, that's moving better now for Sydney. Segacic searching for the opportunity on his left. Dishes it off to Costa, who has a pop himself. And these are the dangerous moments for Newcastle late in the first half. We're just starting to see the likes of Segacic dropping between lines, picking up the ball, starting to link up play. Sydney maybe just trying to consolidate what has been a really difficult first half for them.
Adams with the back heel. King and Segacic. Rozos was stepping out. Now it's Aquilina. Without a win at home in the A-League since February, Sydney. It's a requirement here. And they're getting ever so closer to pulling themselves back onto an even keel as Wahim's pass. Found by Timmins, but Newcastle just dropping ever so deeper at the back end of this first half. Question, are they being forced back by the quality of Sydney, or are they fatiguing a little late on in this first half after such an explosive start? 2 goals in the opening 22 minutes for the Jets.
We certainly can't maintain a high press for 90 minutes of football, so perhaps Newcastle just taking the foot off the pedal a little, and concurrently Sydney growing into this game.
Grant. It's Timmins again. That is 3 or 4 important involvements in the last couple of minutes, but he's not in position now. It's Mizanuma winning it back for the Jets, and Timmins, well, that is a relieving free kick from a Jets perspective, because they have been under the blowtorch for the last 5 minutes at least.
Popovic just leaving a leg in. Nice little shift of weight from Timmins. How about this pass through the legs of Clayton Taylor? I don't think he knew too much about it, but just the vision, the passing range on him is extraordinary.
Rozos looking around, seeing Kacharski. Is this the moment? Jaden Kucharski with another chance that goes begging. He stood up in some huge moments for Sydney before. He couldn't do so there to bring them level.
Well, it's direct. It's Route 1 football. Popovic, his ball over the top. Kucharski did really well to afford himself the opportunity, but he's just scuffed at the shot, dragged it wide. That should be all square.
And if you said Newcastle dominated the first half of this first 45 minutes, it's been all Sydney. And you could probably argue it's fair to be level. Will they be there? Very, very soon. You sense it's only a matter of time for the Sky Blues.
Well, Sydney won't want this half to end. Newcastle, on the other hand, they need to relieve the pressure valve.
What did you say, Grace? 5 minutes of additional time. Will feel that way for Sydney here. They have got a decent chunk of time.
Ryan Scott looking to slow this down as much as possible, trying to dictate the tempo and manage this game into half-time.
Aquilina slipping it through to Mizunuma. Timmins and Wilmering, very narrow at the moment for Newcastle, and that looks a little over here. Aquilina did go down in the box, but nothing doing. Waheem with a chance to stretch his legs. Drives it across towards Segicic. Rose got up. And Eli Adams is going to draw a yellow card here. And it was only a glancing touch from Lockie Rose, but it allowed Eli Adams to get the front position and draw the foul, and a yellow card.
Anas Waheem just half a breath too late to the challenge, slowing Eli Adams down. And again, they're precious moments that Newcastle will be happy to see out.
So Waheem joining Mombwa in the book in this first half. Well, such is the relentless nature of this Sydney attacking thrust. It almost feels like Newcastle are defending a lead in the 90th minute, not in first half stoppage time. And here comes Sydney, looking to pinch back the ball. Timmins angles the pass to Mombwa. Too much on that for Rose. Costa. Grant able to find himself in a wide area. Segicic. Newcastle really squeezing the channel to Costa. And then they get their reward. The pass to Clayton Taylor. They've taken a little nick of Popovic on the way, and Sydney will get another opportunity here. Segicic. Waheem. Costa. Costa with the right boot. Again, just a little too heavy and high for Lolly. Courtney Perkins tracks it down. Back for Joe Lolly. He's been somewhat peripheral figure in this first half. As Lolly. Even despite Sydney's dominance in the last quarter hour or so.
Well, it's set up in such a way that does not play to the strengths of Joe Lolly. He's had to do too much in the way of defensive duties. It's almost like he's man marking Kota Mizunuma. But as a result, completely taking Lolly out of the game.
Costa, oh, what a pass. Wahim, he couldn't thread the needle at the near post. But once again, all roads lead to Costa. And he very nearly summoned the opportunity to make it 2-2.
Oh, it's pretty to watch from Costa. Finds space where space doesn't exist. And a perfectly weighted ball as well.
And as we touched on it, this is not an easy surface to play on. It has had a lot of traffic from a lot of different codes. And he has just weighted his passes exquisitely. Half-time here at Allianz Stadium, and please can we have some more of that? What an entertaining first half in such a pressurised game for Sydney FC. Down 2-0 inside the opening 22 minutes, but then they really came to life. Costa getting one back. And Newcastle will be relieved at half-time to still be in front. Half-time, Sydney FC 1, Newcastle Jets 2. So we'll be back right after the break to sum up all the first half action.
To 12, no matter their experience, over 1,300 kids have already joined in, so don't miss your chance. Spots are filling fast for week 2, so book now at sydneyfc.com/clinics. Down with the best seats in the house, thanks to Kennard Tyre, with our winners, Nathan and family. Nathan and Nate, this view doesn't get much better, does it? Will actually have been from your field.
No, it's pretty good being so close down here and up there.
Tell us how it's been. You can probably hear everything down here as well. Maybe some player instructions. Maybe it doesn't get much better. You can probably hear the players doing everything down here.
Yeah, no, it's very different. You can hear the goalie going down a lot more, and the players, and yeah, it's definitely a different experience down here. It's pretty good.
Easter Sunday, there's also school holidays. How's the family been going through the break?
Yeah, pretty good. We're off to America tomorrow, so we're very excited about that.
That's not too bad. I'll tell you what, I'm jealous of that. Now, Annie, tell us your favourite Sydney FC player.
Redmayne.
Andrew Redmayne, of course. We farewell him today, and it was great to see before the game the crowd make so much noise for a legend of the club. How much do you think Sydney FC are going to win today? 4-2. Okay.
Welcome to the biggest day on Milan's calendar. Italy's most famous football rivalry, the Derby della Madonnina. Milan and Inter, two famous clubs that have enjoyed over a century-long rivalry, and tonight they meet again. The first leg of the Coppa Italia semi-final. Both Milan and Inter call this incredible venue the world-renowned San Siro home. And tonight, an electric feel in the air, as always, as both teams vie for a place in this season's cup final.
And we're underway after a slight false start. Milan playing from right to left in their red and black rossoneri stripes.
Playing as the home team in this first leg, Milan have the support of their passionate Curva Sud as they hope to deny their rivals' dreams of a treble this season.
Maxi Menes, Fofana, Tammy Abraham, the Super Cup hero for Milan, delivers in the Coppa Italia, and Milan are one up here. Here's Correa, now Çalhanoğlu! It had to be him! Milan fans have never forgiven him for making the switch to Inter, and not for the first time. He has come back to hurt his former employers. A trademark rocket from Inter's number 20.
So podium drama in this fixture, as always, no doubt, plenty more to come. Half-time in the tight Enzo Square between Milan and Inter, the second leg scheduled for April 24 Australian time. The winner to take on either Bologna or Empoli in May's Coppa Italia final, a match you can watch live and exclusive on Paramount+.
A huge week ahead in the Coppa Italia, the semi-final second legs, Bologna and Empoli and Inter and Milan. We cannot wait. You can catch it all on Paramount+, and that's where you are here watching the Hungry Jacks half-time show, where it is the Newcastle Jets leading Sydney FC 2-1 in this Isuzu UTE A-League clash. And Greyskill, right before half-time, this was a huge moment for Jayden Kucharski to make it 2-2 for the Sky Blues.
Yeah, and arguably should have been one in the back of the net. Kucharski so frustrated with himself. He's been deprived of minutes this season, so can't be too hard on the young player, but a key moment that was missed.
Well, the Newcastle Jets fans, they're up and about early. Sydney FC coming back into it at the back end of the half. Douglas Costa scoring and Sydney throwing everything at the Jets, and you'll see it really was a first half of two halves on the Harvey Norman highlights. It was all the Jets early on.
Well, that opening 15-20 minutes was one-way traffic. Newcastle Jets, you could tell, that started on the front foot. The high press was coming through. Sydney struggling on their heels. And this was the opening goal. Lockie Rose, who has been here, there, and absolutely everywhere for Newcastle since his joining the club, has just been instrumental, hasn't he?
Yeah, and this defending from Sydney FC, we know it's been an Achilles heel for them all season. Look at this. Players falling off. Ryan Grant in the middle there. Joel King. And they were very unimpressed with the contact. They thought Eli Adams had fouled Courtney Perkins in the build-up. It was a goal. And then again, Mizunuma unmarked at the back post.
Well, all the momentum, all the traffic facing going one way, tracking the pass and the run of Clayton Taylor after that beautiful ball through from Eli Adams, and Mizunuma all the time to consider the shot, rockets it into the back of the net. And at this point, Jets, well, they were in dreamland.
And you're wondering, Sydney FC, must-win match for them, who was going to stand up? Well, you didn't have to look too far, because Douglas Costa, he was crucial right before half-time and just smacked that into the bottom corner, and all of a sudden Sydney came to life.
Well, sometimes it takes little moments and moments of individual brilliance from a player, and a player who has that in spades is Douglas Costa. That shot really from that kind of distance should be dealt with. The defence standing off a little too much, a little too casual, and Ryan Scott getting beat at his near post from that far out. He won't be too pleased.
So here are the halftime match stats, Grace, and I tell you what, you can barely split these two sides.
I mean, that's incredible, really, and probably speaks to the two parts of that first half we saw. The first part, Newcastle, the second part, Sydney, and it's really all come out in the wash. It's a big 45 minutes ahead of us.
Well, as we just touched on, Douglas Costa, we know what he's done in his career, of course, the former Brazilian national team player. He's won a Club World Cup, he's won Bundesliga, etc., etc. But what did you love about his work in the first half?
I think it's just his pure technical ability. There's moments he gets on the ball and he finds a pass that most of us wouldn't have even seen. His ability to break space with his passing range. We saw one cross-field ball, a big diagonal switch. We've seen passes breaking through the lines to the runs of Segacic. I mean, he's just been instrumental, and the goal aside, he's just starting to float in and around and get himself more involved in play. It's been really fun to watch.
Well, speaking of players that have had an impact at their club, well, Newcastle's import, Kota Mizunuma, leading the Paramount Plus player index. And he scored his second goal of the season to make it 2-0 for Newcastle. He just seems, we know Lockie Rose has had a substantial impact, but he just seems to have added an extra element to the Jets.
Yeah, he has. Kota Mizunuma has been delightful. And again, the goal aside, the work that he's doing and putting Joe Lolly through, they're sort of going head-to-head on that far side. But we know that his set-piece taking, his delivery is exceptional. He's just added this other dimension to the Newcastle Jets, which again, you wonder if he'd been there for the entirety of the season, what vastly different a story it could be.
Yeah, it has been a season of two vastly different stories for the Newcastle Jets. Coming up straight after this one, it is the back-to-back defending champions, the Central Coast Mariners. Well, they won't make the finals this year. They are playing for pride on the coast against a MacArthur team who are desperate for a win to keep their top six hopes alive. So you will not want to miss that one right here on Paramount Plus. Well, this has been the Hungry Jacks halftime show. The good news is we still have 45 more minutes to go. Can Sydney FC pull it out of the fire once again, or will it be the Newcastle Jets to win for the first time against Sydney here at Allianz in more than 12 years? We'll catch you on the other side.
The Scottish Cup semi-finals are here.
Oh, what a straight!
St Johnstone are taking on Celtic.
Goal!
Tonight, live and exclusive on Paramount Plus.
Barbecue smoke and air fry outdoors. Backyard bashes are better with pizza ovens that give you crispy crust, high heat roasting and barbecue smoking. No matter how you're spending your time outdoors, bring the indoors outdoors with Ninja.
What does it mean to go your own way? It's knowing that being different is always a good thing. Own it in the new 7-seat Isuzu MUX SUV.
The Isuzu MUX is reinvigorated and ready for life. No matter where you take it, go your own way. FC fans, give us a wave and see yourself on the big screen. Let's have a sing-along. Let me hear you.
Welcome back to Allianz Stadium. Douglas Costa scoring against the Jets and just handing Eli Adams his jersey there at halftime. Look at Eli Adams. How cool is he? No smile, that. Just all good. Now they're having a chat to start the second half, and we're about to get underway in the second 45 minutes. And that was spotted by the eagle-eyed Grace Gill. So got to give the credit to you, Grace, for that little spot right on half-time. So we're just about to go here, second half. So a significant 45 minutes in the context of not just Sydney's season, but maybe even their coach's time at the club, because they need all 3 points. A win puts them back in the 6. Anything else, and destiny rests in the hands of their rivals, Grace Gill.
Well, it does indeed. There's been many times.
Oh, is there a problem? No, there isn't. Well, Sean Evans letting play go on. And this will draw the ire of the home fans. How often do you see it? Free kick goes against the home team, and immediately, literally 10 seconds later, the visitors get the whistle.
Well, there's not enough in that for me. Just a hand on the shoulder, but there's not much doing. This one is late, but you do see that retaliation out of frustration. Ryan Grant gives Sean Evans a bit of a spray. As I was saying earlier, there's been many times we've seen Newcastle have a really good performance, but just run out of steam into the second half.
Just a question there. You get the passion. Here's a whistle. This will be a whistle for Sydney. Will it be anything more? Oh, here we go. Remember, Montwa is on a yellow card, and that is why Sydney players are sprinting at Sean Evans. Well, he is a very, very lucky boy.
Well, I think he might have gotten away with one there. When you're already holding a yellow card and you slow play in the momentum of play like that, Montwa might be counting his blessings on that occasion. Sydney FC frustrated, remonstrating with the referee.
Well, I think Rob Stanton may well have just turned to Lockie Bayliss and said, Lockie, get yourself... Well, actually, he's the only... Just look to my right, he's the only Jets player warming up. So I think that may have been the message, because he does not want to go down a man against the Sydney FC side, lethal in attack. And there is Bayliss. Eli Adams harassing King. It was a question I was going to raise with you before, Grace. I get the passion from Sydney, but I just wonder, are they using up too much of their energy in the remonstrations with the officials? There's been a fair bit of it in this match so far. I'll leave that question to hang as Segacic unleashes into the breadbasket of Scott.
He wants it on his left foot, and why wouldn't you? The one easily plucked for Ryan Scott. Look, it's a good point, Ben, and I think when the game isn't quite going your way, rest assured, if Sydney were in front and not getting a couple of calls like that, they wouldn't be remonstrating in the same way. So it's really about their leaders trying to keep a lid on things and harness that energy in the right way. And at the moment for the Sky Blues, first things first, that needs to be in the way of an equaliser.
I'd love to hear the halftime messages from both coaches. Neve Owens, have you been keeping an ear out?
Yeah, Sydney FC, Benny, always really good with the access they provide. They're looking to make some tweaks this half. Really want to see an improvement in the way they press Newcastle. They reckon if the Sky Blues can find their 10s in those central areas, that there is space there they can capitalise on. We all know the way Uffy wants his sides to play, don't we? And he wants to see more of that in this second half. He really wants them to play forward. He wants them to be more positive with the ball. They very much think there is a game here to be won.
Thank you, Neve. Thanks to Sydney FC for that insight. Really adds to the broadcast. And they certainly were exploiting that at the back end of that first half, finding a lot of space in behind Newcastle. The Jets have come out a little more positive in this second half, and Clayton Taylor bearing down on goal once again. Tight angle for him. He still goes for it, Clayton Taylor, and very nearly cannoned off the underside of the bar and over the line.
Well, went for the spectacular, would have been spectacular as well. Ricochets off the underside of the crossbar. And I don't mind that one bit from Clayton Taylor. He had a look centrally, assessed the options. There weren't enough in the way of Newcastle Jets shirts to aim for, so backed himself in. Maybe a little warning there for Sydney FC.
Well, he was one of the first players to actually publicly come out this week in his press conference and say that it was a little sad that Rob Stanton is departing at the end of the season. Tom Aquilina as well had similar kind of feelings at the back end of the week. Said that you can credit Stanton a lot for his improvement this season. And I know that feeling is mutual, because Rob Stanton said he's been so impressed by the work of Aquilina and also Clayton Taylor. Taylor with 2 goals in 3 matches against his old side, the side he came through the academy with. Very nearly made it 3 in 4. It's Kaczarski. It's dropped there by challenge of Rozos. No remonstrations on that occasion, though. Wahim linking with Segicic. Mombwa used his body well and somehow kept his balance in a very tight area under pressure. Back to Ryan Scott. The ball was just bobbling there for the Jets goalkeeper. And there's a free kick here for Sydney. The ball was just getting a little awkward there for Newcastle.
Yeah, a little hefty through the back. The challenge of Eli Adams bringing Caceres to ground. Caceres, a player who was instrumental in the midfield for this Sky Blues side, but is largely being quiet in that first 45 minutes. Sydney, should they want to get back and involved in this game, they need the likes of Caceres on the ball, and perhaps that's what Neve Owens was alluding to around involving the number 10s, getting them involved between the lines, on the ball, in the play.
Costa and Lolly, and Segicic fluffed his lines at the key moment, and it's Newcastle who are going the other way with Mombwa. Went via the head of King, and Mombwa, nothing doing from Sean Evans. That time it was Mombwa going down a little too easily. Lolly is finding some more joy in this second half, and he's driving towards the byline, Joe Lolly, and he is drawing. Is he drawing a corner? Yes, he is. Sydney were appealing for a handball.
Well, if it wasn't a corner, I dare say it was a handball. I think it was a corner, yep, travelled over the end line there. And as it popped back out from Aquilina, certainly made contact with the arm, and didn't the Cove make that known?
The VAR had a check, and the ball they have deemed was over the byline before it rolled back in, and that's what Tim Danaskis is explaining to Fitale. Costa skimming this one to the volley of Lolly.
That last passage of play for Sydney is more of what they're going to need into this second half. Lolly not quite catching the volley as sweetly as he would have liked to. But down the left-hand side for Sydney, Joe Lolly has a little bit of time and space to measure the cross, and we know he's got a wicked left foot.
Grant coming through the back. Segicic, this time for Sydney FC, and it's 2-2. They've come from 2-0 down. And Adrian Segicic scoring again here at home for the Sky Blues.
Well, there it is. There's the equaliser in front of the Cove as well. Good pressure on the Harvey Norman replay as Ryan Grant streams through, wins back possession for his side. Shouts for a free kick, nothing given, and Segicic. Well, he makes no mistake from that kind of distance. It's a beautiful strike. Ricochets off the inside of the woodwork. A sixth finish in 5 games for the young striker, and what a season he is having.
So the goal is confirmed, and he is at the top of the Golden Boot race. Despite just 12 starts in 22 this season. And he is level with Archie Goodwin, 13 apiece. And here we go here at Allianz Stadium. Must-win match for both of these two sides. A draw leaves both campaigns on life support. And what a final 34 and a bit minutes this is going to set up, plus stoppage time.
Certainly felt like it was building, particularly in that first half, late in the piece. Sydney were coming back into the game really nicely. And it was the hustle and the pressure that came through from captain Ryan Grant. He has that in spades, never gives up. Wins the ball back high up the field. And you've got a player like Segicic who is in the goal-scoring form that he is.
Look at that for a ball in front of Lolly. Oh, and very nearly cannon into the back of his own net by Costa Grosos. Sydney, they smell blood in the water here.
And again, it's direct and it's finding Joe Lolly wide. We know that when Joe Lolly has time to get his eyes up to find the pass in, well, that's lovely.
Wahim Caceres, he shoots. Well, he had Ryan Scott absolutely beat. Scott went left. The strike went to his right, and it would have been 3-2 if it was on target.
The nerves building for Newcastle. And again, Sydney just finding a few different passages toward goal. Look how high they're setting here as well. Costa, Kacharski, Segicic leading the line. They'll invite this first pass and then the pressure comes.
Well, if you've been anywhere near the New South Wales coastline the last couple of days, I think that's what Newcastle are feeling like. They are staring down wave after wave. It is just an onslaught from Sydney FC, probably since about the 30th minute. And you can see the ladder as it stands. A draw for Sydney, and still they sit outside the top 6. Adelaide would remain above them on the table. Remembering Adelaide play Brisbane on Tuesday. Eli Adams in a wrestle with Ryan Grant. And we're told Newcastle are going to make a couple of changes. It is Ingham and Bayliss who are being ready. And you would sense Momwa will be the man to be replaced by Bayliss, you would sense, being on a yellow card. And we're told that it's going to be Eli Adams replaced by Dane Ingham, which is it's an interesting move. Eli Adams, we just Sensing a little bit of fatigue as Rob Stanton and his midfielder, who has been in incredible form of late. He scored 6 in his last 7. Shushnia and Taylor. And this energy for Sydney FC is so obvious. It just was not there in the first 20 minutes. They're just all of a sudden getting first to those 50-50 challenges. They are the team that looks as though they want it more now. Waheem slightly pushed out in front of Joe Lolly. So it is Mombwa replaced by Bayliss. And it will be Eli Adams withdrawn for Dane Ingham. You just wonder if there's more to that change for Eli Adams. An hour and he's replaced.
Yeah, a bit of a curious one. Of course, understand Mombwa carrying that yellow card. There's been a couple of little nervy moments. And Newcastle not wanting to go down a player. But Dane Ingham, we know, a more defensive player than Eli Adams, vastly so. But perhaps he's been brought on to try and slow the run of Joe Lolly, who has come alive into this second half. We've seen as well for Newcastle, Kota Mizunuma tuck inside, which is actually freed up Lolly to have a little bit more space and time. I don't think that's really favoured Newcastle. It's working well for Sydney. But in that first half, as you'll recall, Ben, Mizunuma absolutely took Lolly out of the game.
Yeah, it is a very intriguing one. And certainly, Ingham v Lolly will be much more beneficial for the Sydney winger. And he certainly, as you said, he's been getting into his groove in this second half. Kucharski, Waheem. Some dazzling football from Sydney. And Waheem just cannot keep the strike on goal down. And let's head back down to the sideline with Neve.
Yeah, I'm not sure Rob Stanton's been that happy with Eli Adams' positioning tonight, Benny, or his press. He spent a lot of that first half gesticulating, speaking to him out in the middle, really urging him forward. And you can see he's come to the sideline now. He's just to the side of me. No ice or anything, thankfully, for either himself or Charles Mombwa. But I think perhaps a tactical change here after the 60-minute performance he'd seen from Eli Adams here tonight.
Yeah, thanks, Neve. And that's always the question about Eli Adams, isn't it? The defensive work rate. Maybe just feeling, as Neve said there, he wants more work rate defensively. Mizunuma with the set piece. And it is too heavy, and Shush now off balance, unable to keep it in play.
The delivery did have Harris and Devonish Mears in 2 minds. Maybe the point of Eli Adams coming off and Rob Stanton just needing a little bit more defensive effort and sensing that Sydney were getting up and over them. Dane Ingham is the kind of player that is a tireless worker as well, but might be able to just mute the attack of a Joe Lolly.
Forget tonight, Scottish Cup action on Paramount Plus. St Johnstone up against Celtic from 11:50 tonight. And this is basically a knockout clash, really, when you think of it. 2 rounds left. A draw for Newcastle, and mathematically they would be still alive, but it would be pretty much over for them. So they too need a third goal here without reply. And right now they're going to have to defend the set piece in a very promising area for Sydney.
Well, this presents a dangerous prospect for Newcastle. Kucharski working hard and Shushnia just coming across and chopping him to the ground. When you've got the likes of Costa, Wahim, Lolly, a certain number of set-piece specialists, this a very good chance for Sydney.
You think about that shape he can get on his set pieces. Costa may well just decide to go direct. Sean Evans just giving some instructions here to Timmins and Grant. Produce a captain's goal. Grant, it's Costa, the deflection. Could have gone anywhere. Straight across the box. Segicic back in towards and off Ingham. Another corner here for Sydney. They can sense it. They can sense it, the home fans. Chalet pacing. Has another seat. Takes a breath as Costa is curling. Scott didn't quite get the punch, but it was enough, and that deflection just took the sting out of the drive. Returns it to Dan Wilmering. How about that for a delivery in towards Rose? How did he produce that kind of quality with the pressure and the tightness of that angle? And now all of a sudden it's Sydney. Kucharski sees Scott off his line. Oh, strap yourselves in here at Allianz Stadium.
Well, end to end at the moment. First break in play, both teams take almost a sigh of relief. The pressure mounting either end. Wilmering, one end to the other, did really well. I'll tell you what, there's a bit of spice developing between Ryan Grant and Callum Timmins. A couple of knocks off the ball, just keeping an eye on a few occasions on the set piece earlier, and then in that last passage as well.
Sydney from 2-0 down, looking to complete the resurrection here. And it's Lolly's delivery. Costa with an opportunity again. And it's Grant. Caceres. And Segicic just didn't see Timmins coming from the blind side. Had to get himself involved there, Cal Timmins. Segicic was turning into a dangerous space. Lolly, powerfully driven to the head of Shushnia.
Newcastle are absorbing a bit at the moment, under a lot of pressure on the back foot. The momentum is mounting for Sydney.
Well, you can see there are a fair few men in the stands for Sydney. Not in action this afternoon. Grant and Gerd both injured. Grant out with that calf injury. Gerd the collarbone. Max Burgess not selected. Not selected for quite some time. Player who did spend some time at Newcastle as well during the earlier stages of his career. important to note, as you said, Grace, Newcastle absorbing a lot of pressure. Well, that match earlier in the season against Melbourne City, midweek, they had to soak up a number of chances. Incredibly, they weren't down 3 or 4-0 and they came out 1-0 victors thanks to Lockie Rose on the break. So dangerous with backs to the wall, and that's exactly where they are right now. Segicic, Wahim, and now Popovic lasers it up towards the cove.
Perhaps a little rush of blood to the head for Popovic. The last few minutes have been largely controlled by the Sky Blues.
And here is another opportunity. Segicic! All right, Scott produces a save of the highest quality to deny Adrian Segicic.
Dances dazzles onto his left foot. On that occasion, he is stopped. Had some movement about it as well. Really strong hand from Ryan Scott. That was dipping.
And some will say it was straight at him, but as you said, Grace, that was dipping and swerving. He beat Alex Paulson twice last week. Probably the best goalkeeper in the competition. Now it's Costa trying his luck. Oh, jeepers. Came off the stanchion for a moment. I thought it was the post. I thought surely he's not that skilled with the whip, Douglas Costa. Lots of space in midfield now for Newcastle. Mizunuma. The pressure came from Wahim. Now it's Rose.
That's for what Sydney were asked of at half-time. They wanted their 10s to get on the ball more. They wanted higher pressure, more of a press. We've seen that. Both of those things, those boxes ticked. Newcastle, they need their response to the situation. Haven't been able to really get a foothold back in this one. Perhaps here a chance.
Bayless. Ingham. And Wilmering's not going to give up on it. Needs some teammates. Uses Taylor. Continues the run as Wilmering, and then had it pinched off him. Ryan Grant in there for Sydney. Now it's Mizunuma trying to win it back off Kucharski. This will be a whistle. Is Shushnia in trouble here? Yes, he is. Into the book for a yellow card.
Yep. No denying that one. Shushnia just coming through, collecting the legs of Kucharski, and that last passage as well. Clayton Taylor going down with a little bit of cramp. Newcastle just tiring, running out of legs.
Yeah, the shift has been dramatic, hasn't it, from the first 20 minutes. Where Sydney FC just looked lethargic, slow to the ball. And Newcastle really dominated. And since then, it's like they just wanted the challenge. Because they've just come to life. And that's been the problem for them this season. Give up early leads, try to fight back. It was a problem in the Champions League as well, which they couldn't resurrect on Thursday night. They could turn it around here. Costa, he was looking a little leggy there.
And a completely different look in the second half. Newcastle, after starting the first stanza in quite an intensity, quite an industry, haven't been able to register a single shot on target into the second half so far. It's been largely played in Sydney FC's attacking half.
Raheem turning and Timmins fouling. Let's go back to Neve on the sideline.
Just keep a bit of an eye on Joe Lolly here, Benny, on this left edge for Sydney FC. Seems to be carrying his right groin a little bit. He's gestured to the bench a couple of times. Moving okay, but certainly something there troubling him. He's played a lot of minutes in the last couple of weeks. They had a light session on both Friday and Saturday leading into today, so hopefully he's all right.
Thanks, Neve. Caceres He scored the equaliser against Newcastle back in January, and this time he's gone down. Did he cop a boot here maybe on the shin, or did he just roll an ankle maybe on the way to the floor?
Certainly not the type of player who stays down in those moments. We'll get another look here. Just a bit of contact as he goes to ground. Back up on his feet, which is good to see. And to the point of Joe Lolly, well, we remember a couple of seasons ago when he was out with a groin injury from the Sky Blues finals campaign and how dearly it hurt them.
Well, it's a great point. He has looked a little sluggish, as Neve mentioned, and even Costa as well, just looking a little leggy. So you just wonder, what does Ufi Tale do? Does he go and say, well, they're the big game players, we need them in our hour of need, or go for the fresh legs off the bench? We'll find out in the coming moments. Timmins with Newcastle players bombing forward. Mizunum is 5 and 6 around the box, and the strike is wasted. It is a wasted moment by Clayton Taylor. Inside the final 15 minutes, could that come back to bite them?
Good numbers forward. A rare foray into their final third into this second half. Ingham was an option to the right. I thought perhaps the better option. Might have been able to flash across the face of goal. The Newcastle Jets player almost looked a little bereft of ideas when the ball came to feet and Clayton Taylor was leaning backwards on the shot.
Well, Rob Stanton is been dancing up and down the touchline after that last Jets attack. He just wants them to continue to show some energy in these final moments. Like a cat on a hot tin roof. You could say both coaches exactly the same. Caceres. Still going Caceres. Blocked off on the angle. And these two sides know each other really well because they actually played 3 times in pre-season, and Rob Stanton wanted to because he said Sydney FC are the benchmark and we want to test ourselves against the best. Well, it was a stalemate in January, 2-2. It's 2-2 again here, and Sydney is still outside the top 6. Caceres and Grant. Costa. Perkins and Lolly peeling wide. Wahim, he found the angle. He couldn't find the strike on target though, and that's Wahim.
Space there as it just went over on that ankle. And the strike, those ones hurt to his own feet, but someone who's not. Clayton Taylor signalling to the bench for a sub.
And you could see just looked to be cramping a little bit when he had that strike on goal down the other end of the ground. So they are going to their bench. It looks as though it will be Ben Gibson. Joe Lolly having the conversation with Ufi Tale. He's going to have a swig of water. Maybe a bit of electrolyte in there as well. So on the other bench, it's Gibson getting his instructions from the Jets assistant, Damir Pradanovic. And this was that moment, Taylor just stretching out the legs. But how intriguing is it? 2 meetings this year, Newcastle, twice 2-0 leaders, twice Sydney pulling it back to 2-2. It was Sydney in the final 12 minutes in Newcastle where they pulled that out of the fire. So Rob Stanton just clarifying that he's got another substitution window available to him after this one. Bayliss and Ingham introduced in that one window earlier in this half. Shushnia. The Sky Blues encircling him. Wilmering. just hanging off Wilmering allowed him an opportunity to find that pass to Ingham. Now it's Aquilina. Mizunuma rushing forward. Maybe those younger legs of Courtney Perkins just coming in handy in the foot race with Mizunuma. Lolly, crucial win here for Sydney. Can they make it count? Kicharski. Lolly and Costa out on this left edge. Can they conjure up? Segicic. And now Grant. And he drives it over the bar. And it was the pressure from Lockie Rose which may just have forced that strike up and over.
May have just forced Lockie Rose into a bit of cramp as well, but that's a really good moment for Sydney. Yet again, it's Douglas Costa who finds the pass to Segicic. Segicic's shot definitely on target, blocked well by the Newcastle defence, and it fell pretty kindly to Ryan Grant.
So Ben Gibson, who earned a Jets contract off the back of his work here in Sydney in the NPL New South Wales with Arpia Leichhardt. New Zealand coach Darren Baisley's also been having a look at him. His mum, and his Ben Gibson's mum, was born in New Zealand, so he is signed at the Jets until the end of next season. So what an opportunity that presents with the All Whites, of course, qualifying for the World Cup next year in America, Mexico and Canada. Ingham slipping it to Ben Gibson, and he's poked it wide with his first touch. What an introduction that would have been for Ben Gibson, who spent some of his upbringing here at Sydney FC. He very nearly punctured their finals hopes.
Well, this pass from Dane Ingham is superb. The weight to separate the Sydney FC defence just finds its way through to perfection. And maybe Gibson in between two minds of a shot or finding Lockie Rose in that far post run. Just scuffed his line slightly, but that opened up nicely. That was a moment for the Jets.
Massive, massive moment again. You can note that one down 5 minutes ago. Taylor spooned that strike over the bar. Gibson pushes it wide. Now is it Sydney's turn? Timmins says not on this occasion. Ingham just was always running away from Mizunuma and came out off the Japanese winger. So Newcastle look as though they're about to use their final window here, and they would still have one change up their sleeve unutilised if they only use Phil Kankar in this moment. Rose and Gibson. Oh, he touches that back into a very challenging area for the Jets, and it's pounced on by Grant. Now Kicharski. Derby hero in seasons gone by. Has he saved their finals hopes?
Well, special scenes for Sydney FC on the Harvey Norman replay. Ryan Grant, his industry, his work rate, and Jaden Kicharski in just his second start of the season. He puts his name up in lights, and what a moment to do so. A huge goal. Potentially a match-winning goal, and in the context of the season, that is a spectacular finish. Bottom corner, swiftly taken. And the arm around the shoulder from Ufuk Talay. A word of instruction. Big minutes coming up for Sydney FC.
So on comes Kankar. Despite Newcastle conceding to go down 3-2. And it's Jaden Kicharski in another Massive moment for Sydney FC. 3-2 they lead. From 2-0 down. Their finals hopes hanging by a thread. But it's not over yet. The resurrection for Sydney is not quite complete. There is still time to run through the hourglass in this one. The fourth, though, would all but do it for them. They're back in the 6 on the live ladder. They are back in front of Adelaide United.
Jaden Kicharski, a player who, coming into today's match, had played 300-odd minutes across the course of the season. Today, 85 minutes, a goal to boot. Special moment for the young striker.
And there it is. The city of churches falls silent. Sydney back in the 6. Newcastle's finals hopes extinguished as it stands right now. And they will not mind this one bit, Sydney FC. Listen to the Cove now.
Well, the noise, the eruption, when that goal nestled in the back of the net. Another look. It's coming together. Marine just late to the contact. Popovic has been sound this afternoon for Sydney FC. Now it's a game of management. The last 5 minutes plus stoppage. How Sydney, with all their experience, can see this out.
Adrian Segicic leading on the Paramount Plus Players Index, and despite his 2 last week, they weren't able to get over the line. He's got 1 this afternoon. It'll feel a lot sweeter if they can bag all 3 points. The young brigade, after that goal from Costa, really stood up for Sydney FC. Segicic and Kicharski, the 2 most recent goal scorers. Can they find a match sealer?
At moments, football is made up on a matter of moments. Minutes earlier, Ben Gibson comes on, has the opportunity for Newcastle. So close, the chance down the other end, and it's Kicharski who makes the most of his moment.
Don't forget, the Ninja A-League Final Series begins April 27. Grab your tickets at aleagues.com.au. It's all going to be live here on Paramount Plus. Network 10 play as well. Selected matches on Channel 10. Exciting time ahead across the A-League Women's and the A-League Men's. Melbourne City, an undefeated regular season. Can they go on and win the championship? Newcastle, can they find the equaliser? Aquilina up towards Gibson, who had that chance moments ago to make it 3-2. Wilmering back to Aquilina, floating it up towards Gibson. And Lolly, safety first approach, and it will be a corner kick for Newcastle.
He's not pleased about it, Joe Lolly. Sydney FC with a corner to defend. Last minutes of regulation time.
Here's an Uma that did. Ingham was flying. Oh, and the strike from Bayliss. He got some purchase, but it flashes wide.
It's whipped in dangerously. Ingham the target, but wasn't able to meet it.
So Mark Natter, unused sub, so too Wellersol. Newcastle just using the 4 substitutions. They haven't got any windows left now. How much stoppage time? We had 5 at the end of the first half. You'd expect something similar at the very least. And here is the Sydney free kick. So it looks as though you just see that shirt tug initially from Mizunuma. And here's a change from Sydney. So Wahim will be replaced by Corey Holman. Went away with the Ollie Roos, did Corey Holman to the Doha International Cup with Clayton Taylor from Newcastle, part of that squad as well.
And coming on, number 6, Corey Holman.
His brother Jake in action in the match straight after this one. MacArthur travelling to Gosford to take on the Mariners.
The 4th official has indicated
must-win match for the Bulls when it comes to the top 6 equation. So 5 minutes for Sydney to hang on, or Newcastle to find an equaliser, or maybe more. You never know what can happen in this wonderful sport. We've already seen that this week. Timmins, neat footwork and strength in the challenge, and then he looked to have undone all his good work, but Dane Ingham kept it in and earns Newcastle the consolation prize of a throw. Numa just put that aimlessly into space where Sydney were occupying. Shush now. How about the goal from the centre back? Now it's Timmins! Aquilina denied by the desperation of Popovic. What a block that was from Alex Popovic. The desperation that you could say was not there in the first 20 minutes in their 18-yard box. Certainly evident on that occasion.
Well, crucial defending. Popovic, excellent. Needed to be as well after a lovely deft touch from Shushna. Shushnia found a pass the whole way through. And again, just these little windows, these little openings. Popovic stood up in a really important one.
Mizunuma searching for Aquilina. Here's another corner for the Jets. Nervy moments for Sydney FC.
Well, that pass from Callum Timmins to pick out the run of a Newcastle player in the middle.
Hang on a second. Sydney have said we want to make a change. And it was Camijo waiting at the bench. Well, they saw it, went out for a corner. They said, no, 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 we are not making a corner at a defensive set piece. Ryan Scott is coming up. Only Danny Vukovic has scored as a goalkeeper in the A-League. And it's Mizunuma. It is deep. Shushnia up there for the head up. What is the decision? It is goal kick. And Callum Timmins is playing the role of ball kid as Ryan Scott rushes back. Now Sydney will make their change. And it's Costa who scored the goal to get them back in the match when they were down 2-0. And he gets a standing ovation from many.
Well, fair to say, moments of individual brilliance from this man turned the game around for Sydney FC. It was his impetus, his involvement, goal aside, his contribution to the game, immense.
And he's replaced by a man, Taru Kamiju, who he has given massive raps to. Costa said he's got a really bright future ahead of him, this young 19-year-old. Play on for Newcastle. Aquilina on tight legs. He still has some pace to burn. Just left it short though, and now it's Lolly. going the other way for Sydney. 5 minutes Kucharski. There's a Sydney player on the turf at the other end of the ground. Looks as though it may be Corey Holman, but play goes on here for Newcastle. Lolly gets in Timmins' way. Free kick Newcastle. Still Holman is down. Sean Evans is having nothing to do with it.
Look, I'm a little bit bewildered at that one. I'm not sure how that's gone the way of Newcastle. Meanwhile, Corey Holman has been down for the last couple of minutes and looking a little worse for wear, clutching at that left leg.
Well, I'd love to see that on replay.
He's the best at making up shit, man. Joe puts his body between with the ball. Hey, get the line up.
Well, I think Ufitale agrees with you, Grace. Well, you can hear that from our effects mic. Now, this is the Holman. Oh, now, just wonder if his ankle has been twisted under the body of Timmins here. And he looks in serious pain here, Holman. And he basically got the full body weight of Timmins as he went to ground.
This is a really disappointing one for Corey Holman. I think he knows as well. He's done a bit of damage on that left ankle. Looks to be in a fair bit of distress.
So, is he able to weight bear? He is not even able to weight bear here. This is the incident. And as you said, Grace, I'm a bit baffled as well, because Timmins has basically thrown Lolly onto the turf. All right, so I'm probably thinking we've got at least a minute to go maybe from here. Sydney are going to make their final change. Tiago Quintal. Is he going to come on here? Probably not before the set piece. So they're down to 10. No, he's going to come on now. So they have the full complement, Sydney. Ryan Scott is up for Newcastle.
And coming on, number 20, Tiago Quintal.
Who knows what's going to happen here? Mizunuma floating it up. Sydney nodding it away. Goalkeeper remaining up for Newcastle. Now it's Sydney. Can they seal it? Urge to shoot from near halfway. Scott is after it. It bounces just wide. What an involvement that would have been from Camijo off the bench and scoring from near halfway. It's a chaotic conclusion in Sydney. Still there is time. Still we go on. It'll be a throw for Newcastle. Only Sean Evans knows how much longer we have. Bayliss. And Ingham. From 2-0 down, Sydney have completed the resurrection. They have saved their season for the moment. And they are back in the top 6. Their finals destiny for now will remain in their hands. And for Newcastle, their finals dreams are dashed in the Harbour City.
In the last home game for the regular season, your Sydney FC pick up the win.
Well, what a fight back from Ryan Grant's side. Frustrated in the opening half, down 2-0. Costa pulled one back before half-time. Then it was the young brigade, Segicic and Kucharski. Yes, Jaden Kucharski at the death once again for Sydney FC in just his second start of the season. Ensures all 3 points stay here in Sydney. Full time at Allianz. Sydney FC 3, Newcastle Jets 2.
Emphatic wins, tough losses, and everything in between. You've shown up, stood tall, and beat with us.
Well, let's have a look at the Alex Tobin medal points, Grace Gill, and pretty tough to pick this afternoon, but it's all sky blue.
Well, Sky Blue running home with it. Douglas Costa instrumental in the turnaround for the home side. Adrian Segacic again, his good goal scoring form, and of course Ryan Grant, tireless, relentless, put the team on his back, and Sky Blue all the way through.
Well, their 250th A-League win. Let's hear from the man of the match with Neve Owens.
Douglas Costa, what a big victory. 2-0 down and a fight back. How big is that 3 points for your side?
It's very important for us because, as you saw, it was a really tough game. And then you have